Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back on Rumble, on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram. Good to see all of you. Well, hi,
Hello.
George.
Hey,
Hi,
guys.
Mark. Do you remember Romper Room?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
I see Mark. I remember he held the round thing.
You, you know, she did that, and I actually thought she was talking to me. I remember it. I must have been.
Oh, that was a woman who did. I thought it was Bob McAllister.
It was a woman, and I was in West Covina. I was a kid, 8 years old, and I was watching it. I was sick. I really remember this. I was not feeling well. She said, "Oh, I want to say hello to all the sick kids who aren't going to school today." And she said, "Oh, I see Dave, and I see you, Mark. I hope you feel better." And I still remember it vividly.
Wow, you were a very lonely child.
Yeah, I was also 29 at the time.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, do you? I was talking about this a day or so ago. Do you guys, anybody watching? You guys have any superstitions? You believe in superstition?
You know, I'm not superstitious, but there are kind of things I might do. Like, I take a walk around my neighborhood, and there's a rock. This guy has a really nice corner house, and he put this bench in a rock, and it's like a jade, and it had a little sign. It said, you know, touch the rock for good luck and charm and health and stuff. And every time I walk by, I kind of just pat the rock.
Hey, superstition. That's a
I
superstition.
feel, why not? It's a nice gesture.
You never know. George, you have any?
You know, I have kind of ways that I've lived my life and moved and exercised and eaten and stuff, but I don't think of anything like step on your crack, break your mother's breast. None of that I live by, but I can't think of anything that's really superstition, but I do have a lot of things I try to do that I think are out of respect or manners, but they could be superstitions to other people.
All right. Well, somebody said tunnels and bridges.
Would you walk under a ladder, Scott?
Would I what?
Walk under a ladder? I kind of try to avoid.
I have. I won't walk. Somebody said a grave. I won't walk on somebody's grave.
Oh, I wouldn't do that.
I've accidentally done that, but not on purpose.
So somebody, Sal Pacino says the evil eye, the Malocchio, but I mean that seems to be one. No suitcase on a boat or ship. I've never heard that.
What about knocking on wood? I've done that.
Okay, you know what that one is? Do you know what it's from?
No.
Okay, I'm going to read it. Ancient pagan times, people believed spirits lived in trees, and knocking on it would protect them from bad luck.
You mean you warn them that you're coming or something?
No, the spirits in the tree would save you from bad luck.
Oh.
Because, you know, when you say something like, you know, you want to like knock on wood, you know, you don't want to be like you're arrogant or something, you know.
No, but Mark, you don't have any superstition when you write?
No.
I dance on my ex's grave, Kevin Smith. Oh my God. No,
you know what? Let me ask you if you've ever done this. This is a very weird thing, and now I'm probably going to be put in a hospital. You know, like you do a turn, you get up and you do a turn, and then you sit back down in the chair and you think about, should I turn the other way if I need to turn again?
No.
How is that superstitious? It's just comfort.
Well, I mean, weird things that, you know, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like if I turn halfway, 3/4, I'll go back rather than do the whole circle. If I'm looking for something, I don't know. I have a vague recollection of doing something like that, and I know. Please, somebody say they do weird.
Yeah, no, that's a little weird.
The bless you after sneezing that Darren Ortiz brings up, that's do that.
Being polite in a group, I think that's being polite. You know, you do it because.
Well, what about breaking a mirror?
You know what? Broken mirror.
Bad luck?
And
bless after you're sneezing is supposedly because your heart stops when you sneeze.
Okay.
So you bless you so you don't die. That's what I thought it was.
It could be. What if you don't have a heart?
Well, then that's most television writers and movie writers. Bad joke. Okay, you want to hear something? I'll tell you a story that happened to me. I guess this is superstitious. So I was doing a movie in Pittsburgh. Great town, by the way. Great little town. We worked in an area called the Strip District, which is all the Greek and Italian delis were. And I was staying at oh, dang it. It wasn't the Pfister. Some old hotel that when you walk down, it was a movie I did called The Bread, Mice, Sweet, which later became a Wedding for Bella. Small little independent movie. It was a lot of fun. I did it in 2000. Oh, God. Anyway, so when you walk down the hallway, it looked like something out of The Shining. This long hallway, red carpet, and I kept thinking those two little girls were going to be at the end of the hallway.
Right.
Every time I went to my room, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning after work. So anyway, I had a room. I had a three bedroom suite. It was 2 bedrooms and a living room. And each room had there was an outer door in the hallway, and then there were 3 doors inside. So I was sleeping in one bedroom. I was on the 6th floor. So I was sleeping in one bedroom, and the door was open to my bedroom, but the outer door to the hallway was locked. And I'm laying in bed. I think it's probably my second night in the hotel. And guys, I look at my door opened in so I could see the door number. And the door number was it was like, you could have these rooms individually or as a suite. And I had it as a suite. The room number on my door was 666.
Wow.
Oh, that would bother me.
That was appropriate.
So I'm laying. You get fixed on something. Now it's all I see. It's all I see. I can't. Every time I turn over, I see it. I think the door's moving, and I run downstairs in my sweatpants and t-shirt. I said, I got to move. I can't stay in this room anymore.
Diane predicted that. Look, I changed my room.
Yeah. So and now it's like, I don't know, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I got to change my room. I can't. I'm in the devil room. I can't do it. I said, I'm in 666. I can't do it. She says, well, the only room we have is the room right above it. So I said, fine. So I get the room right above it. I take my luggage. I go upstairs. Now I'm right above the devil, and I can't sleep.
Oh, that's fine.
So I actually had to change. I had to go to the 8th floor and some other room, and it was horrible. Anyway, so that was.
I'm surprised they allowed a room to be numbered 666. You think they could have come up with a different number? They didn't have to number it.
I guess it's like the 13th floor. I mean, I agree with you.
Some buildings go from 12 to 14. Mm-hmm. You know that? But I always said, but you're still on the 13th floor if you take 14. But I did hear some buildings. It would bother me. Would you take a flight that was 13? It would kind of.
I might have without knowing.
Yeah, I don't really remember the flight numbers, but.
That's called triskaidekaphobia, the fear of the number 13. It's a weird name for such a strange phobia.
Triskaidekaphobia?
Triskaidekaphobia. Triskaidekaphobia.
Trist, 3. I guess that's 13 in some light. Okay, what about breaking a mirror?
I've broken mirrors, and it never seems to bother me. But then I've had bad luck all my life, so maybe that's why. I don't know. No.
So So I'll tell you where that comes from. The Romans, my people, believed that mirrors were a reflection of the soul, and damaging it would upset the gods. It's not fascinating. Fascinating.
I always feel that if there is something like that, you break a mirror. You know what I do? I just kind of like acknowledge it and say, okay, so I don't want bad luck. Okay. It was an accident. I might.
Why don't you open an umbrella inside the house?
That's a strange one.
I've heard of that one. And you know what? Well, when you
Oh,
come
wait,
in,
wait, what is that? Just Andy said 13 revolves around the Knights Templars?
Really?
could
I don't
be.
even know what that means. But that's okay. But what does opening umbrella, why is it bad luck to open an umbrella indoors?
Wait, I know why I don't think the Knights is it. Maybe it's close, but that's because of the 12 apostles. Wasn't there a story about the 13 being bad luck because there were 12 apostles? I actually forget it now. I should have brought it up if I don't know the ending. But
Yeah, very prepared, George. Thank you.
pretty spontaneous. Come on.
So the reason you don't open an umbrella, or you shouldn't open an umbrella inside. In Italy, they don't have a 7th floor. Italian cruise ships, they think the number 7 is bad luck. Wow. But the reason you don't open an umbrella indoors is because the Egyptians used umbrellas for shade, and opening them indoors was disrespectful to the sun god.
Okay.
I mean, who am I? The Knights Templar were executed on what?
Friday the 13th. Well, I didn't know that. That's
Okay, well,
Oh, wait, maybe this is a rest of my. Here it is. Judas, the apostle betrayed Jesus, was the 13th guest at the Last Supper.
Oh, no.
Colleen backing me up here.
No way. See, but and when you look up all these different superstitions, it might have been from this, it could have been from that, folklore and things like that. And there's also, black cats. If a black cat crosses your path, why is it bad luck?
I like cats, so that wouldn't bother me. I mean, I've had black and white.
But that's been around for Halloween. It's black cats, right?
Yeah,
you see black cats as decorations.
Yeah, and the witch always had a black cat.
The witch had a black cat, and it was a sign of the devil.
Oh, right.
So you're living with the devil right now.
I had a girlfriend that was a sign of the devil.
That was a scary movie, wasn't it?
All your girlfriends are signs of the devil.
Yeah. No,
what's the scariest movie you ever saw?
I keep going back to Exorcist. When I was a kid, I saw it. I remember, I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was in high school. I don't recall, but I remember that really scared me. The
Omen scared me when he finds the 666 on the kid's head.
Yes, The Omen, and also Rosemary's Baby. Though I love the movie. Yeah, that was at the end when the devil's in the crib. Oh,
yeah.
That was a great movie, actually.
Tammy Marino just said, "Don't close a knife that somebody else has opened."
I heard that, and I don't know why. I have heard of that. Knives scare me. I don't have knives. The ones.
What about spilled salt?
I never understood that one.
Me neither. I never even heard that one.
But I have. I've been at a restaurant. I remember, and somebody spilled salt. And someone said, "Throw it over the shoulder," and I was like, I was okay with that. They did the salt.
Well, you pick it up and throw it over after you spill it.
Yeah, if you spill salt, I think you're supposed to take a little bit of the salt and throw it over your shoulder.
That sounds like assault to me.
All right, we're starting with the puns.
Do you think superstitions have anything to do with like OCD?
I think somewhat. Like
Definitely.
I think probably, because OCD, I mean, we have to touch the right water knob before. There was a guy named Oscar Levant, which maybe some of the people would remember him. He used to do a show. He had a wife. He was a piano player. And he had terrible, it was in the 60s. They didn't know what it was. He would have to do things like he would touch his doorknob 3 times before he opened his front door. He would do hot water. He had all these little things, but that's extreme, I guess, OCD.
Renee just said if you put your purse on the ground, you lose your wealth.
That's interesting.
I mean, I guess so. But do you have any compulsion?
Me?
You or George? You guys? Anybody out there have a compulsion of any kind?
Not really.
I don't know if this is a compulsion, but if you don't, like, when I get up, the last thing I want to do is exercise and things like that, but I force myself kind of as a compulsion. I know if I start, it'll be great. So I do it, but I use a compulsion to keep my schedule a bit, because I'll never do things that I don't want to do without that kind of discipline. So maybe it's discipline and not compulsion. I don't know.
I have a bit of a,
What do you have, Scott?
I have a bit of a compulsion. Sometimes I count words, and they have to add up to 4s.
No, really?
Yeah.
What if they don't?
Why 4s?
I don't know.
Because
But not all the time. Like if I see somebody says something, I see if it's a 4 or an 8 or a 12.
Really?
And I don't know where and it just comes in randomly. It's one of those things. And also I have a superstition when I work. Like if I'm doing a sitcom, I won't eat before the show.
Is that superstition or just you don't feel good?
It became. Yeah, I know you're laughing, Al.
So you've been eating a lot in the last couple of years.
Oh wow, well, that's very mean. That was me.
No, it just started because I didn't want to feel like bloated or anything.
Right.
But then it just became like a superstition that I will not eat. And if I eat, I feel like I'm going to have a bad show, so I don't eat. That's
really interesting. You know, Jerry Lewis, I heard, wore only white socks, and he never wore the same pair twice.
Really?
Really?
Wouldn't wash them. He would buy. He had drawers of white socks, and Jerry Lewis had that superstition. And I think it came from one time he was doing a show, and he wore the sock again, and it was a terrible show or something. I heard that about Jerry Lewis.
But the 4-8-12 thing just is. It's kind of, but it happens. It's like a bizarre thing, and I don't know where it comes from. I also have one where, and this came from something where I will not use Banaka.
Right.
Breath spray.
Sure.
We don't clip our nails on Sunday. I've heard that we don't clip our nails.
Never heard of that.
Tanya McCoy. I've heard that. It was the weirdest family thing we had. I don't know where that comes from, but I've absolutely heard it.
Really? I've never heard it before.
Yeah, I have. I have to hit a perfect swish before I stop for the day. Wally Ellis, a perfect swish.
In what? Golf?
You have like a garbage can that has like he's on his computer maybe, and he has a Nerf. Maybe he has a Nerf thing. Even numbers cannot have just one strawberry or one biscuit, but it has to be either 2 or 4. Even numbers on the sound on the TV as well. Wow. Baseball players, very superstitious. I've heard that.
You know what I do sometimes? You know, like a paper towel or something like that. I'll roll it up and I'll have a glass sitting on the table in front of the TV, you know, in the living room, and I'll toss it. And a lot of times it goes right in. I've got I just toss it into the glass. And if I don't get it in, I won't just leave. I'll actually do it and throw it again. And if I won't feel complete unless I get it into the glass. Sometimes on the first, but sometimes I've sat there 5 times to do it. And then I'll get up and leave if I'm ready to go. So I guess that's a superstition.
Todd Caskey says he listens to Frank, or girl, I don't know what Todd is that name, but listens to Frank Zappa on Fridays. I have another compulsion. I cannot, and I don't know if this is a compulsion or a type A thing. I cannot walk away from a dirty sink.
I get it.
If there's anything in it, I have to clean it. I can't.
I crawl away from it.
That's not me, but
I crawl away from it and then leave it there. But I get that you can't work.
No, I have to clean it.
I get it. You need to get everything in order.
Yeah, I can't leave the house.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I have a dishwasher, so a lot of times I will just throw it in the dishwasher to get rid of it, but I don't have that compulsion.
But Mark, you wash your dishes and then put them in the dishwasher. You wash them at the sink and then.
Well, I rinse them off. And
then you put them in the dishwasher.
Yeah, but not all the time.
It's kind of a compulsion.
Hurry. What? If I'm in a hurry, I'll leave dishes in the sink, but it's me, so it's a plate, a fork, and a cup.
I won't use the Banaka stuff. I won't
Oh
use
yeah,
the
why?
spray.
You won't.
No.
Why?
And I don't know if this is a superstition or a compulsion, or it became something because I was doing an episode, I'll never forget it, of Joni Loves Chachi, and there was a girl that was a regular on it. Her name was Winnie Friedman. She was the greatest girl. You've seen her in movies, and we were just ready to go on, and she had the thing, and it wasn't working, and I mean they were literally. Like the scene started, and so what do you think she did? She looked at it and squeezed it. It went right in her eye. I lost my mind. We stopped the show for 20 minutes because I could not stop laughing. So after that,
It must have really hurt her.
yeah, she was fine. She didn't lose an eyeball or anything.
No, I mean,
but after that, I will never do that. So Scott,
Banaka's gone away, I guess.
I know, but yeah, I only have some
They
version of
still
it.
have it.
Scott, you can't walk away from dessert. If it's tiramisu, I can't walk away from it.
You remember when you and I split a tiramisu, but we wanted to not get germs, so we ate a germ wall. We ate it up until the middle, and then there was a long line.
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
Guys will do that. If you're going to share, so we usually do it, and then we won't drink out of the same soda. Guy will never have a soda.
Not now, Mark. But
Huh?
then, when I was a kid,
Right.
we got a bottle of Coke or a bottle of cream soda, and everybody drank from it. Everybody. Anybody that was with us, hey,
We didn't do that.
give me a sip. Give me a sip.
No, we didn't do that. Even back then, we didn't do that. By the way, I agree with Kilburn.
Kilburn.
that's the way the patent was drawn for the
By
toilet
the way,
paper.
somebody in the cigar lounge turns the paper roll because it slides on and off the wrong way. And I'm gonna tonight when I go there, I'm gonna ask who does it. It might be Eric or it might be Alex. They come and you pull it and it throws off. It goes off because there's no stop.
We did it with ice pops. We shared everything.
I never did
Everything.
Wait, a popsicle?
Everything.
Come on.
Sandwich, pickle, didn't matter. Everybody
remember
took a
vacation?
chunk. You'd fight over it. Somebody would grab my drink and give me the damn drink, and they'd be chugging it, so I couldn't get any
that
more.
must be an East Coast thing. I West Coast, we wouldn't do that. Remember the vacation where the guy says, "You want a beer?" The famous scene where he says his cousin or his uncle, he says, "You want a beer?" The guy says, "Sure." So he opens his and he splurges it, and then he hands it to him. No, you can't. We never.
How about a cold one?
Yeah,
that sounds great.
That's a great scene.
There you go.
Yeah.
So a lot and this stuff really. I was talking to our friend Daron, and we had a conversation about sort of on the same line as superstition, idioms, not idiots. George, easy. not. You know what? Why don't we do this? We'll let comments on Bruce Springsteen Trump derangement syndrome rant. I mean, that might be a good one after we get done with this.
Yeah.
Hated
that.
But you guys, I didn't realize what an idiom is. Do you know what an idiom is?
You just told me,
it's a phrase that doesn't mean what it says, and somebody that doesn't speak English and learning it would never make sense to them because the words are common to us, but not to the meaning is common to us.
I'm already confused, George.
So you know why you cross your fingers for luck?
What?
Do you know where that came from?
No.
Now, again, this is what I read on the internet, so it must be true.
Absolutely.
So I read that crossing your fingers, the Christians would use secret hand signals when religion was persecuted. So they wouldn't have, they would just go like this to each other to know that they were Christians.
That makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
It's a sign of the cross. Cross your fingers.
Maybe.
Like the cross. Yeah. I think they did the fish thing too.
Yeah.
You know the fish
Yeah,
in the sand.
I've seen them on cars. Religious people, right?
But you know where that came from?
What's that?
You know what that
feeding
means?
The loaves in the fish, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, but do you know why it? Do you know how? Do you know where that came from? Do you know what?
Oh, give a guy a fish.
No.
feed him one day.
Yes,
No.
it represents again opinion. It represents Jesus. If you didn't know if he was a Christian or not, you would draw a line like this, and if they were Christian, they would finish it.
So they
And made
knew.
a fish.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, interesting.
Well, you people, you're learning so much tonight. Unbelievable. Glad you tuned in. How about a stitch in time saves 9?
Well, that's true.
I don't
We said,
understand.
Jesse, we said knocking on wood. Knocking on wood, the spirits, they would knock on a tree because that's where spirits they thought were, so it would protect them from bad luck. But what, George, what about a stitch in time?
Well, that's true. That actually is if you fix it before it gets bad, you don't have to do a
Okay,
bigger
all right,
repair.
it makes sense now.
Right. So one stitch will save the whole thing from being ruined, and 9, so you don't have to stitch it 9 times.
I have an idiom thing I just thought of. There was a story yesterday that a neighbor of a guy that had a bunch of animals didn't want them coming onto his land, and he shot a pregnant cow walked onto his land, so he shot it. I'm thinking, how dumb can you be? But the idiom here is,
Thanks for that story.
well, it's a setup. He wanted to shoot the bull with his neighbor, but he didn't understand how to do it, and he accidentally shot the cow.
George, was that a joke? That's the
It
word.
was
That's what
shoot
you
the bull is an idiom. Does that mean I want to sit and talk to you? That doesn't sound like that. That's what it means.
Is anybody as confused as I am?
Yeah, I'm thoroughly confused.
Yeah, you said a cow, which is not a bull.
Right. He shot the cow, and I'm saying he misunderstood. He wanted to shoot the bull with his neighbor.
George
He
is
thought-
being angry.
Oh, he wanted to shoot the bull. He wanted to talk to him.
Right, but he shot the cow by.
But then why did he
Somebody
shoot
will
him?
tell me that they like that. Somebody come to my. Nancy's
George, you need a drink. You
I
need.
have one. I have one. Look,
Oh,
my special ice cube.
I'm drinking water.
All right. What about a bird in the hand is 2 in the bush?
Well, because you go after the 2 and you lose them both. If you've got the bird, see, that means you have a bird, but you see 2. You have to throw that bird down to get the 2, and likely you won't get it. So I understand that one.
So that's
Tanya vindicates me.
yeah. Who does Tanya?
Sonia B. I got it.
Tanya,
Sonia, I get it. George. So Mark, so what I read is this: a bird in the hand in medieval times. A bird in the hand means a trained falcon was more valuable than catching more prey. So the bird in your hand.
Oh, okay. All right. Totally makes sense.
2 in the bush.
Scott, it totally makes sense, and I never put that together. I always thought it was what I said. Of course. Wow.
My son never got idioms when he was little, special. He knows. Okay, what about sleep tight?
Well, isn't that to be protected or not to fall off the bed, like tuck yourself in?
Nope.
But you're right. I don't know what it means.
George?
Well, that's the bed bug thing,
Sleep
isn't
tight,
it?
don't let the bed bugs bite.
Yeah. I
No.
would guess if you tuck your sheets in, you can't. It's tighter. You don't get
Did
bugs.
you
You can't come in because they're in the mattress, I guess.
You tuck your feet in, George? Your feet?
What?
You said tuck your feet
Your
in.
sheets. You tuck
Oh, your sheets.
yeah.
So no.
You know, my mom does this thing that she thinks you should sleep as long as possible. So she doesn't. I tuck the sheets in the bottom of a mattress so that it doesn't fall off.
Right. I do.
And she pulls them out because she thinks it constrains you when
Yeah,
you're sleeping.
me too.
No, man, it's got to be in because
No.
I'm with you, George.
Make a bed in a second.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway.
I'm with
No.
you. I always tuck it. So where'd
No.
George go?
George. George.
Did he fall? Did George fall? You okay, George? You didn't hear a thump, did you?
There we go.
He's coming back. George,
I need a new
but
mouse,
George,
man. I'm sorry.
don't your feet get hot?
Oh, look, what's going on here? You guys
George,
froze.
I don't like my feet being exposed. Like if I toss and turn, so I actually like to be under the sheets. I don't like them to be exposed.
My wife makes a military bed.
Oh,
Really?
I don't know how to do that.
Tight. It's tight.
I like it. Go ahead.
No. I got two more. Cutting corners. What does it mean?
I would think it means that you take a shortcut and it doesn't work as good. Don't cut corners. But
Going the full path, you try and round it to save time, and you don't. Somehow it screws you up.
What was that, George? Say that again.
If you cut corners, if you're running like to the corner, and then if you don't go all the way corner and you round it, then you're cutting corners. So you're cheating essentially.
Wow, George, very close. So what?
Oh, go on.
Carriages in the 1800s would try to cut corners of the street to save time, and the carriage would hit the curb, damaging the carriage.
Okay. You know what reminded me? Yeah, you know when you go into a store, a supermarket, and there's a bunch of long line, and you try, and sometimes you move. Whenever you move to the line that looks shorter,
Yes.
it always takes you longer than the three people you were behind. And I don't know what that is, but yeah,
That's the same thing when you're driving. That lane is moving faster, so you get in that lane, it stops, and then the other lane goes.
Yeah, I never. Yeah.
All right.
Mark,
What about I got?
You remember that it says you remember the carriage is cutting corners there.
Mark remembers that. Oh wow. Yeah.
So what about bite the bullet? What does it mean?
What does
it mean?
I never knew this, but I'm putting it together. I've said it many times. I think it's because when you were wounded or in the war, and they had to operate like in the Civil War, they had no anesthesia, so they gave you a bullet to bite for the pain when they were cutting into your leg or something.
That's exactly right.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly. So now bite the
rest
bullet.
heard it.
So bite the bullet now means just bite the bullet. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Bite the bullet. And do you know where the term shot glass comes from? Why you get a shot of whiskey?
Okay, I used to know it, but I forgot.
They used to fill up the cartridge of a bullet in the bars in the Old West and drink it. Is that right?
Again, off the internet, when you would go to a bar, if you wanted a drink, you would give them an expended?
Yeah.
A shell. You give them a shell casing, so it's a shot. You give them a shot, and they give you a drink. And they would sell the copper, whatever it's made of.
So it was worth a shot of whiskey.
It was worth a shot of whiskey.
Okay.
And that's how all that kind of stuff came to be. There's more. Give me another one out there, somebody. My wife says that my cars get half empty. I do that, but
what's that?
Oh,
here's one.
What?
A shot in the dark.
Oh, good. What does it mean?
You just say, give me one. I don't know the answer. All right, how about belly up? That's when you go all the way to the bar and smash your... Mark, you invented that, didn't you? When you put your stomach up against the bar, your belly up to the bar?
Is that it? Yes. I was never tall enough because I started drinking when I was 4.
So the phrase is shot in the dark, very general attempt, wild guess. You can use a shot in the dark to describe a situation that has a small chance of success. So I guess if you were shooting somebody in the dark, you didn't know if you're going to hit them or not.
Okay, sure. Shot in the dark, likely, yeah.
Oh, the whole 9 yards. I've heard.
I know the answer to this. When you have for automatic weapons, the belt that would feed through the weapon that was loaded with the full length of that belt is 9 yards. So if you give somebody the whole 9 yards, you shoot all of your ammo at them.
That makes sense.
See, that's what I thought it was about clothing, but it's not. But it's what you said. What about the full Monty?
That I don't know.
Full Monty was, we'll get to Break a Leg. Full
Yeah.
Monty was a store. Back then, way back, I guess, whenever the 1807, you would go to a store to buy a suit, another store to buy shoes, another store to buy a hat, and one store sold everything. So, and I think his name was Monty. So you got the Full Monty.
Now that makes sense, and I never knew what it meant.
Break a Leg.
Yeah, where did that come from?
I know what that is.
But
What?
it's showbiz.
Right.
Supposedly actors invented that because if you tell somebody good luck, it brings them bad luck. I don't know.
No, what this comes from, in my understanding, not to call you wrong, but in vaudeville days, if you came from behind the curtain, you got paid. So if you break a leg, your leg breaks the curtain, that means you get paid because you're on stage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense, actually.
Yeah. Nice, George. Very, very nice. Wow. All right, look, so there's a million of them. Don't throw out the baby with the baby with the bath water, and every cloud has a silver lining. I mean, you could spend hours and hours. Don't cry over spilled milk. But I think they're all interesting. But anyway, let's can we shift gears a little bit?
Yeah.
Sure.
George, put up that photo of the basketball player.
Hold on.
George sent this to me the other day. We were talking about two people, and nobody's saying they're gonna show you this photo. And you have to tell us something about the photo.
Oh, sorry about that. Here we go.
You see anything in this photo? You see what's circled there? Anybody watching?
Anyone? Let's see.
Come on. Not you, Mark.
No, I know. I mean,
expensive seat.
The Menendez brothers, Pat Leppy. It's the Menendez brothers. And
this is from last week. Yeah.
And now I wonder if this is after the shooting.
Well, you said it's a card. It's a baseball card or not?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Look, they look very, very upset. Maybe they just killed their parents and they went to a Knicks game. The Knicks, I guess, were playing the Lakers.
Could be. I think one has a shotgun. On his pant leg, it looks like. You look closely.
It's a sort of shotgun. I wanted to show that because I thought it was really kind of interesting. And we were talking about, are they going to get released or what's happening with them?
Well, I think what the judge said is that they got resentenced. That's right. I think so. They are now. It's 50 years to life, which means they after 35 years they can be up for parole, but they can't serve any more than 50 years, I guess, or at 50. Well, unless they misbehave. Point is that they're now up for parole.
Okay.
Because life without parole now it's 50 years to life, which means you can be paroled. So they're going to the parole board, in a week or a month.
I don't think they should be.
What's that?
I don't think they should be. Oh, yes, we forgot.
No.
We forgot. Thank you so much. George Wendt passed away.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that's their sentence.
I said George Wendt passed away, Mark.
Oh, yeah. I was
sorry. Sorry to the family. I met him once.
Oh, did you know him?
Anyway, yeah, my condolences to him and his family.
Yes.
But the
Audio interference. You guys hearing that?
Somebody's audio is really bad.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right. You want to do some headlines? We'll do some headlines.
We can.
Go, Mark.
Wait, hold on, Mike.
Hold
on.
The Mark Jones Minute, yeah!
Okay, the one I was thinking about is they got these two elephants in the LA Zoo, and they want to move them to a bigger zoo in the state, in another state where there's more elephants because there's just two here. And they're all upset because they got a judge to say, no, it should go to a sanctuary. But I'm saying it's better to move the 2 elephants that's been here for years to a bigger place with their 7 elephants. But they said then that's not as much room per elephant. But I think elephants need companionship. And the zoos are really not that bad. I mean, it's like 8 acres. So they, but they said they wanted to send it to a preserve.
So what happened when they
sent it to the one that all the people got a judge to say not to in LA.
That's what you spent your minute on? That's what you spent your minute on.
Yeah, I got nervous.
The Mark Jones minute is over.
I got a headline. I have a headline.
Okay, you go. Give us a headline.
This is a California man who used underwater scooter in lake to try to evade arrest, pleads guilty to fraud. A guy stole $35 million and he was being chased by the cops.
35 million?
35. He paid 8 of it. 8 of it says he paid, I think 8 million of it. He paid back investors about 8.8 million of the 35. And he led the police on a car chase before dumping his vehicle and fleeing into frigid Lake Shasta with what was later identified as a Yamaha 350 Li underwater submersible.
You're kidding. So he planned it.
I guess.
He was underwater in his bills. He needed it.
And the cops just went, they watched where the bubbles were. I mean, this is, I every time I think humanity's okay, I think humanity is absolutely insane. Do you remember? This is a true story. This is back in LA. Maybe the 90s, maybe or forever. Remember the floods down by the Encino golf course?
Floods?
You mean
the whole Sepulveda Basin.
Yeah.
The golf course there's a golf course in the North Valley, and it's the bottom of the valley. The water was up to the street lights.
I was in Encino at the time.
Yeah. The water was literally up. It rained so much the water was up to the street lights, and people were putting on scuba gear and breaking into the cars.
They were in the carpool lane. That's why they were doing it.
That's
okay,
good.
George got
Yes, very good.
There
All right,
you
so
go.
So what other headlines you got, Mark? That's it.
I think that's it. Well, I thought it was interesting what happened today. If we want to get a little current with.
Wait. Well, about what?
About the Trump and the South African president.
I have never seen anything like that in my life.
And
guys, hang on. If you haven't seen it, Trump has the president of South Africa, or the president of South Africa in the Oval Office. I promise you, go on. It's got to be online.
Oh, it is.
Watch the whole thing. Tell them what happened, Mark. It's unbelievable.
It's really interesting. What I find fascinating, there's a real issue. There's a lot of crime. They even admitted it. The white farmers, they put in a thing in the Constitution that they can now take the land without compensation and give it to the disenfranchised blacks. And so, of course, and there's been a lot of violence where they've gone in and killed white farmers. So it's a thing that Trump wanted it exposed to now talk about it. It's like, I've never seen a president take an issue because, some of the news doesn't report it that way. There is some real bad stuff happening, and Trump exposed it. And now you got to talk about it. And instead of being polite, like all politicians he actually said to the guy, why are you doing this? There's a lot of problems. And I know people from South Africa, and there is an issue. Now, there's also a lot of blacks are being killed in the crime too, but they are targeting white farmers. And he wants people to know that so they can maybe handle it. But the fact that he brought it up, I've never seen that.
It's not that it's the way he brought it up.
Yeah, he showed a video.
He showed video of crosses on the side of the road where people have been murdered. He showed pictures, and the guy is sitting right next to him. He's sitting right next to him, and he's totally. What would you do in that position if you're the other guy?
You know what I found interesting? They had 3 white guys that are south.
They had Elon Musk. I think they had, and Ernie Yell's a golfer, and I think
right, and another guy, and they said, and the president said, the South African president said, well, would they have come to me if this was really happening? Would they have come with me? And they said, say what's going on, and you could see one of the white guys was talking and trying to be political because they are in South Africa and they work with the president, I guess. But he said, my grandmother was accosted in her house, in her farm. And he kind of said, so there's a lot of problems. They're being politically maneuvering, but the thing is, nobody wants to say what's really happening. And they're now killing a lot of white farmers. I've seen actual stuff. And now they want to take the land without compensation. And so it's kind of a mess over there, and they should really get their act together. But the fact that Trump brought it up live to me is amazing. And of course, the liberal was just saying he's a white supremacist, and it's all about white supremacy. It's not about that. But yeah,
that's all just noise. But what were you saying, George?
Well, seems like to a lesser degree, there's been a lot going on since this transition happened, where people didn't maintain anything. When they would take the farms, or they would take over, the machinery and things were never maintained, so they just stopped working. There was no culture of maintenance. It was just like, let's just use this until it dies, and then they
sold a lot of it. Yeah, it was they gave it without vetting. I mean, there's black farmers, and there's a lot of good black farmers in South Africa, but they didn't vet. They just gave the farmland, and nobody worked it, and the crops died. It was kind of, and there's a lot of corruption in South Africa.
Yeah, a lot, but for the president to do that, everybody, I'm watching this. People are absolutely. I watched it, and I was like, is this for real? Is he absolutely dressing this guy down in front of him? It was incredible.
But
it was incredible.
That needed to be done. That's what's amazing it's always so sweet, and you shake the hands and they go back to their country and nothing gets done. Trump sees a problem and says, let's fix it. I was blown away.
I can't argue with you. I can't argue with you. He's a force of nature. He just is. Look, whatever. I mean, I know a lot of people hate him and all that, but and then the other thing was Marco Rubio in front of Congress today. Did you see that?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Elenitha said, he said, "What is this, a game show?"
Yeah.
Holy crap, man! These people, you know what? Trump, hate him or love him, but he's given the people behind him the freedom to just say, up yours. Sorry, up yours. You're wrong. And it's actually incredible to watch, and I'm kind of enjoy it. Now, go ahead.
No, I was going to say Rubio. He said you want to bring back, gang members, wife beaters, and you even have margaritas with this guy. And it's like the things that are being said now is the stuff that is said behind closed doors. And I think Trump has set it up where people now engage with truth and now deal with it. Everybody was so nice to everybody. And I think you need, because we've got big problems, and they really want to bring back these criminals, and it's insane.
Meantime, Obama deported 2.5 million people. All right, let's just, and I don't think they all had hearings, so it's all a bunch of bullshit. Let's finish with Bruce Springsteen. Who brought that up?
Oh, you did. I hated what he did. It was so unnecessary. He vilified our country. He said we have a leader who's basically a monster, a Nazi. He's getting rid of people.
He's a Philistine. He called him a Philistine. No, that was somebody else.
And here this guy has hundreds of millions of dollars. he doesn't have to worry about crime. He doesn't have to worry about immigration because he'll never be hurt because I have bodyguards where he goes. What a self-serving thing to do.
Yeah,
This people gave him. And by the way,
Especially on a show that's not in America, to do something like that.
Well, of course, he makes it look bad. But I just got to say this: Bob Seger is 1,000 times better than Bruce Springsteen. I've always liked Bob Seger. His songs are better, his lyrics are better, and I was never a Bruce Springsteen fan.
Kid Rock just said that, and I agree. He just said that. Yeah, he said I love Seeger. I can I tell you, I never I don't. People love him, and I'm not knocking the guy, but I never understood the music. Born to Run. Born to Run is about getting the hell out of a town in Jersey, isn't it? This town is a death trap. It'll rip the bones from your back. That's what he's writing about. And he says he writes about America. All right. I mean, and wasn't the song Born in the USA original title Born in Vietnam?
It might have been. It sounds familiar when you said it.
Yeah.
He's kind of the same. His songs meld into each other.
Yeah. I know people love him. I just don't get the music.
Why at this point in his life should he get so down on?
No, I'll tell you why. I think he's so distraught about the election that he can't control himself. I mean, he thought it was a lock that Kamala was going to win, that he's so upset about it that any chance he gets in front of an audience, he's going to say something. And I think the people in the audience didn't really.
I heard they didn't really react like he wanted them.
No, they didn't. They didn't really care. But
having worked in the music business, I've been to many concerts, and I respect the success he's had. In his concerts are incredible. If you're a fan, I just don't. I can't separate the two. I can't separate the bad mouthing of our country from that. So it has a tremendous impact on me. I can't. It's the whole person. I look at all of it. I can't.
And he's bad mouthing based on a lie that we're pulling innocent people out of their homes and shipping them. We're getting rid of criminals.
Yeah, it's just goofy.
Illegal aliens who are criminals, and nobody wants that to happen.
Yeah. But George, who's the best individual rock and roll guy in your opinion ever?
I like stuff that it takes me a long time. I don't know why I'm a snob, or I think rock and roll is heavy metal. That's the way I grew up. But it took me a long time to get bands, even like the Stones or Tom Petty. But then I realized these people are great when I finally let my guard down. But I've told you this before, and I may have even mentioned it here, but the greatest show I've ever seen is a band called DC Talk. Yeah, Christian band. But I don't know, man. I go from Elton John to classical music. You see rock and roll. I'm a huge Kiss fan in the old days. I like a band that was a glam called Mott the Hoople. They're probably my favorites. Or Ian Hunter.
All the young dudes.
Yeah, those
Really?
guys for me. Yeah, those are.
What about Sonny and Cher? They were my favorite.
They were great. My wife loves Elvis. I just watched a documentary, and you know who I love is ABBA. Sorry, I love ABBA.
Yes, actually, their songs are pretty good.
But that's not really rock and roll to me.
No, but I was just I'm just saying. Yeah. But would you say Elvis Presley the best individual rock and roll guy?
I would say Elvis for rock and roll. But if you go back to like who started it, I mean, you have to look at Chuck Berry and Little Richard and people like that. I mean, those guys started what we're doing.
You know who so Arlene just said Jefferson Airplane. So all of a sudden I discovered Marty Ballin has an unbelievable voice. And I just discovered them again. I really, what about the best band, George? As you all know, George was in the music business forever. And George has perfect pitch, and he's a virtuoso piano player.
You play the piano.
I just said,
I'd have to go with Led Zeppelin as the best rock band.
Really?
Wow, not the Beatles.
Well, the Beatles stand alone. I mean, Beatles, Elvis Presley, and if you want to say who's the most talented pop rock, he's not really rock, but the most talented pop guy that ever recorded was Michael Jackson. The guy was just dripping with talent. There's nothing he couldn't do.
Yeah. Not a rock and roll guy, but yeah, amazing, ridiculously talented. So I think I love Petty. Tom Petty, I think, is great. I love Seeger. People are throwing Van Halen. Michelle Hutton says Van Halen. Van Halen, David Lee or Sammy Hagar?
David Lee Roth, gotta be.
I like Sammy Hagar.
I like David Lee. I like David Lee Roth. But my favorite, though, of all time, I'm going to agree with Arlene. The Eagles. Eagles are my Eagles. But the Beatles, you're right. They stand alone. Eagles, man, I can listen to the Eagles all day long. But anyway, all right. Well, listen, that's it, folks. Next week we're trying to figure this out. It'll probably be next week. I'm going to expose somebody for making up stuff about me. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but we will. It's going to be interesting. But you'll hear about it, and I think you'd want to watch. But I'm not. It's a little bit more complicated than you would think, but it's going to be fun. So. What? Anything else? We leave anything on the table?
George, I'm trying to think. No,
I'm good.
Except the poor elephants, but outside of that,
Yeah, no. Wait. ELO. I love ELO. I got to meet Jeff Lynne and George Harrison one night at a club in Hollywood called The Gate, and then I got to sit down with ELO. I just said his name, ELO.
Jeff Lynne.
I got to sit down with him, and it wasn't an argument. It was whose phone's ringing?
okay, it's my landline, which nothing calls on that.
I got into a little bit of a fun argument with Jeff about one of the lyrics to his songs, and I said, "No, that's not." I said, "This, do you want my love? Come on, now. Do you want my love?" And I kept saying, "No, that's not what you're saying. You're not saying." He looked at me, and I said, "I'm telling you, that's not what you're saying." And he said, "I wrote it." I said,
"That's really funny."
You're wrong, Jeff. You're wrong.
He was nice. He was nice to me. He humored me, but I was kind of set on the fact that he said that he was saying, "Do you? Come on now." I thought he was saying Amanda.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why, but there's other songs like that. Like my friend Steve in Vegas. You know, remember the song "Mr. Big Stuff"?
Sure.
He thought it was Mr. Pit Stop.
I knew it was big stuff.
Ticket to Ride, I thought, well, she's got a chicken to ride.
Really?
Yeah, when you're young, all these songs, you just make up the lyrics. That's what it sounds like. And then there are people. There's one guy. He sings. I don't know what the hell. I'll give you "Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress" by the Hollies.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what the lyrics of that song are?
No.
She was a long, cool woman in a black dress. Go.
I'm terrible. I don't know.
Beautiful, tall. That's all I get. And she was a long, cool woman in a black dress, about 5'9", beautiful and tall. With just one look, I was a dead man because that long, cool woman had it all. And I whenever it comes on the radio, I have to stop and get out my phone and get the lyrics again because I can never remember them. Anyway, folks, this is my life. This is what happens to me when you get old and you have a lot of time on your hands. So anyway, I think we're done. Everybody, see you next week. God bless you all.
Night, everyone.
Mark,
Good night.
You guys were fantastic, and I will talk to you all soon. See my nose with the